Good evening. My name is Jason Delisle. I'm president of the Speedway Town Council. It is 7:03 on September 23rd, and I call this meeting to order. We'll first start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, quick introductions. Town Council Sarah Gardner is not feeling well tonight. We hope she feels better soon. To my right is Town Councilor Sean Harold.
Good evening.
And to my left is our Town Attorney Ted Nolting,
Good evening.
our Clerk Treasurer Philip Faust,
Good evening.
Town Councilor Vince Noblet,
Good evening.
and our Vice President Nick Sturgeon.
Good evening.
One other item too, Grant's at a conference this week, so he won't be joining us tonight. Hope he's enjoying himself. Okay, our first item is the approval memorandum for our joint executive session of the Speedway Town Council and Redevelopment Commission on September 9th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve this memorandum of our joint executive session between the council and the Speedway Redevelopment Commission.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions or comments? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our memorandum of joint executive session of the Speedway Town Council and Redevelopment Commission on September 9th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 4-0. We have several memorandum here to go through. So our next item is approval of memorandum of the administrative session of the Speedway Town Council on September 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of administrative session of the Speedway Town Council from September 9th.
I'll second.
All right, any questions or comments? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our administrative session memorandum of the Speedway Town Council on September 9th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is approval of minutes from the September 9th, 2024 Town Council meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve our minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor of approving our minutes from the September 9th Town Council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is approval of memorandum of the administrative session of the Speedway Town Council on August 26th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the memorandum of administrative session from August 26th.
I'll second that.
All right, any questions or comments? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the administrative session memorandum of the Speedway Town Council on August 26th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that passes 4-0. Two more memorandum. Next item is our approval of memorandum of the joint executive session between the Speedway Town Council and Redevelopment Commission on August 26th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the memorandum of the joint executive session between the Speedway Town Council and the Redevelopment Commission on August 26th.
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor of approving our joint executive session memorandum between the Speedway Town Council and Redevelopment Commission on August 26th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. And our next item is approval of the administrative session memorandum of the Speedway Town Council on August 26th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the memorandum of administrative session of the Town Council from August 26th.
I'll second.
All right, any questions or comments? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our administrative session memorandum of the Speedway Town Council on August 26th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that passes 4-0. All right, our next item is approval of amendment to the town manager employment agreement. And I see has my name listed next to this in Grant's absence. Not really sure what to cover here. I guess it's an agreement between the town council and Grant Kleinhans, our
Standard mileage. Adjustment.
where's the
Reimbursement.
okay. So this is I guess this is actually maybe you want to just give us a quick synopsis, Sean?
So, Philip, I believe that there was an adjustment made to the standard amount of mileage reimbursement. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So for most employees, our handbook just says that we'll follow the IRS standard mileage rate, which changes from time to time. His agreement had a specific provision that said he got exactly, I think, 56 cents, which is now significantly outdated. So this would just allow us to track the IRS mileage rate, and then it would also make it retroactive to the 22nd so that the mileage he's done since then could be reimbursed at the higher amount.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment to the town management employment agreement.
I'll second that.
All right, any questions or comments?
It's just the right thing to do, I think, so we don't have to keep doing this every time the IRS changes their amount, and just makes it simple.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Sean, and Philip for the assist there on describing that. If there's no other comments, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our amendment to the town manager employment agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? That passes 4-0. Okay, next item is ordinance 1392, which is approval of the 2025 budget for the civil town of Speedway. This is our second reading. Philip?
Thank you. So our September 9th hearing, we had our first reading and our public hearing, and both that hearing and this hearing were advertised through the public gateway as is required by law, and these hearings are 10 days apart. Ordinance 1392 encompasses multiple funds that are labeled the general fund, debt payment, bond number 3, fire pension, police pension, local road and street, motor vehicle, highway, storm sewer, recreation, park bond, and cumulative capital development. The adopted budget, if passed today, would be $17,244,387 for those funds. And then there are a couple other funds that are listed as home ruled funds. The law enforcement continuing education fund would have an adopted budget, if passed today, of $66,710, and the public safety co-op budget, which would have an adopted budget of $2,226,244. And I am recommending this for your approval.
All right, well, I'll make a motion for the approval of ordinance 1392, approval of 2025 budget for the civil town of Speedway.
I'll second that.
All right, any questions or comments relating to ordinance 1392? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1392, which is approval of the 2025 budget for the civil town of Speedway, say aye.
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 And opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is ordinance 1393, which is approval of the 2025 budget for the school town of Speedway. Philip?
Ordinance 1393 similarly had a public hearing and first reading on September 9th, and then both that hearing and this hearing were advertised in the public gateway. It covers 5 different funds: the referendum fund, the rainy day fund, the debt service fund, the education fund, and the operations fund, which would have a total adopted budget, if passed today, of $38,363,485. Unlike the prior budget, as we've discussed before, I would not be recommending adoption of this because of the debt fund budget of $3.2 million, which corresponds to our estimate of 1 year's debt payments on the proposed $32 million bonds for the capital improvements projects. As we've discussed before, with $18 million of interest to be paid over 20 years, I don't feel comfortable recommending to this council that we approve spending $50 million or more, primarily on a football field and a gymnasium, not when we have tens of millions of dollars of other street and utility projects that we know are on the horizon. So in my opinion, issuing this much debt for the school is unwise and not fiscally conservative, but I also recognize that I'm in the minority on that. So with my objection made, I believe the next step is for you to call for a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 1393, approval of the 2025 budget for the school town of Speedway on second reading.
And I'll second.
All right, any questions or comments regarding ordinance 1393?
No, I like to say, I served several years on the redevelopment commission since 2005. And this town has been faced with a lot of difficult high roads to take, in terms of, we basically dug ourselves into a hole when we had Main Street basically completely depleted. A lot of residents were moving out, and we took it on at this point to change that course. And that was the whole agenda of the redevelopment commission. And it took a lot of courage and relationship for the town council to make that change, because our school board was a very conservative school board along with the town council. And the problem was that, they didn't take on a lot of debt. But you look at every community around us and in the state of Indiana, and there has been a tremendous change in relationship that you want to, keep your expenses low, and you want to be able to, make those physical changes to your environment. We had boilers go out, and we've been able to manage that over the years, replacement of roofs and a lot of other physical things taking place. But, the net effect is the building was built in the 60s, along with most of our town at that point in time. And so it's like any other building, your house, it costs a lot to remodel it. But if you're going to stay there and look at the long-term goals, it pays to be investing in that. And I think we want to invest into a quality education for the kids. And we also have to be proud of the community that we're living in. And in doing that, we need to maintain a consistent amount of remodeling over a period of time instead of waiting until everything collapses. We do it the same way on your house. You got to replace your roof now and then, your water, your kitchen, your bathroom. All that takes a lot of money. And this just goes to show how long we waited before we started this. Main Street was the same way. It was the last street to be sewer separated all the way down. We basically bit off all the subdivision areas first and then worked down to Main Street. Well, because it was most difficult. And at that point in time, the redevelopment commission helped with that workload of separating that sewer water. All of our money just didn't go into buying property. It went into replacing a lot of sewer and water mains. At that point, you had to replace it all the electrical lines. You had to drop all that and start modernize it. And I think we've seen a lot of the benefit, but it's not only passing the budget, but it's also being a good steward of the dollars that we pass and making sure that the money's going and getting the biggest bang for the buck. and from that standpoint. And I think it will behoove us to make sure that that happens from that standpoint. But that's all I got to say in relationship to this.
Yeah, I'll just have a couple comments too. I agree with you, Vince. And I understand some of the comments regarding some of the improvements that we're doing to the schools, but I don't want to mischaracterize the improvements. Yes, some of these improvements are related to athletics, but these are really multi-use facilities. They're going to be used by athletics, by band, and by the community as well. And that's just a portion of it. There's all kinds of infrastructure improvements that are occurring at the high school, the junior high, and the elementary schools as well. So again, I think it's important to think about all of these improvements as a whole and not just pick small pieces of that. And just like Vince had said, I feel like we've squeezed every dollar that we can out of our current buildings and where we're at. And it's time for us to make an investment in the town. And if you think about what this town is really built on, honestly, is, our public safety, and our schools. And I think it just makes sense to invest in our school system.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. I think, our school system is, a pillar of our community. I think without, our Speedway school system, I think that Speedway probably doesn't exist in the way that it does today. And I truly believe that firmly. There are a lot of improvements that are happening to school buildings. Yes, there are athletic facilities, but as Jason mentioned, I think that there are these are multi-use. They're going to be community use facilities. Mm-hmm. From junior leagues all the way up to junior high school. So I think that they're going to get a lot of use, give us a lot more flexibility, and I think that it's something the community will be able to be proud of. So I'm in support of this, and yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I guess I'll just wrap up and say, it's not easy, and looking at the numbers, it's hard. And not to disparage prior councils, prior school boards, they were doing what they thought was the best at the time, but that has an effect where these maintenance repairs have gotten bigger, which means they've gotten more expensive. And then you throw in the economic changes that we've seen over the last few years that have inflated costs quite significantly across the board. It's not an easy decision. I know when we took up the call to be on this council, it wasn't all about the easy decisions. It was thinking through the tough decisions. And if we did not approve this, are we kicking the can down the road another year? And I look at the football stadium, and there's a section of it that's, caution taped off, and we've had a couple football games there already. I think that's a bad look for the town, but also it's a safety issue, and for our kids. And the academics are number one, but the sports and the athletics, there's a lot of life lessons that are learned through the sports. And I think when we have, I think about the spending, it is an investment. And I think that's something I want to make sure that the folks of the town understand is that we are trying to invest in all of the town, and the schools are such a big part of that. It's not easy. And I, even personally looking out and how I take debt out for myself, and weighing that out. Could we have minimized some of this had the prior boards and councils taken on a little bit over the years? Maybe, but they didn't. So we're at a point in time that this is what we're faced with. It's not an easy decision. It's something I've, racked my brain over, what's the right thing to do. And I, looking at my two kids that are still in, and again, the kids that will be coming up years down the road, what's going to be the best thing for them. And I don't think we can kick the can down the road any longer. I mean, and I, to Philip's comments, I, really, really appreciate you raising, your concerns, and it hasn't fallen on deaf ears. It's just, this has not been an easy decision on this specific thing, but I think we cannot not take action any longer. We've got to do something with it.
Just one other comment too. I'll just, there has been a lot of discussion around this, and I appreciate all of the conversation, all the professionalism that everybody has shown throughout the whole process. We haven't always agreed, but I think that's a mark of a healthy town, being able to discuss these types of major issues and coming to a decision. So just want to thank everybody involved. All right, if there's no other comments, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1393, which is approval of the 2025 budget for the school town of Speedway, say aye.
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 And those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is ordinance 1394, which is approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Library. Philip.
Thank you. This, although three funds are listed, it's really just one fund, general fund, and the amount of $1,520,619, and I would recommend it for your approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 1394, approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Library on our second reading.
I'll second that.
All right, any questions, comments regarding ordinance 1394?
I want to thank Darcy for showing up tonight.
All right, if there's no other comments, all those in favor of approving ordinance 1394, which is the approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Library, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is ordinance 1395, which is approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Transportation. Philip.
This is, and I think I failed to say this for the last one, but hopefully it goes without saying at this point, that we had hearings on all of these on September 9th. They were all noticed through the public gateway, and this hearing is 10 days after the prior hearing, which we had a public hearing and a first reading. The Special Transportation General Fund is the only fund here, and that would be for $450,066, and I do recommend this for your approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 1395, approval of the 2025 budget for Speedway Public Transportation, second reading.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions, comments regarding ordinance 1395? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1395, which is the approval of the 2025 budget for Speedway Public Transportation, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is approval of consultant agreement amendment number 2 with GAI Consultants for the Crawfordsville Road Pedestrian Improvement Project. And tonight, in Grant's absence, we have Ron, are you okay, coming up with GII to give us a little background.
Evening, Council. Ron Webb, Project Manager for GAI Consultants. The request before you this evening is for an unforeseen scope to the storm sewer that's located on the north side of Crawfordsville Road, just to rehabilitate that storm sewer. When that was discovered, the condition of the storm sewer was pretty bad shape, especially in the bottom of the metal storm sewer. The supplement request is for the engineering that was required to look at several alternatives, including replacement of the segments of the storm sewer that were impacted, and also some different alternatives for rehabilitation of that storm sewer. There were also some permits. Two of those permits were additional required because of that work being needed to be done in the storm sewer. When you get into a waters situation, it requires some additional permitting that had not originally been in the scope of the project, and also required some amendment of the environmental document to add that work for the work in the storm sewer. So the other comment I'll make is that because of needing to almost immediately apply for some additional funding from the MPO as a requirement for being able to do that work, we weren't able to wait and get this amendment approved before we did the work. So almost all that work has already been performed. So thank you for your consideration.
Sure, I get,
Question?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve this consultant agreement amendment number 2 with GAI Consultants, Inc. for the Crawfordsville Road Pedestrian Improvement Project.
I'll second.
All right, any questions, comments for
Yeah,
Ron?
can you tell the public, what you found in your examination of the, our stormwater line from, I guess it's from 22nd over to, basically to Cunningham, correct, or the section of area that you're
That
working?
actually extends just a little bit west of Cunningham. There's an open drain that goes under Crawfordsville Road, and that storm sewer runs from 22nd Street up to that open drain and then turns and kind of parallels the open drain toward the southwest behind the CVS, where it opens back up and drains into Eagle Creek there. It's an existing 72-inch corrugated metal storm sewer, very large size of storm sewer for something like the town of Speedway would normally deal with. My understanding, it was built in the 60s, and it was framed, the manholes were framed with old bleachers from the Speedway that they used for forming the manholes. It kind of gives you some idea of how this is kind of put together.
Repurposed bleachers, okay?
For the form work, yes.
Okay, I wonder where they borrowed the corrugated from.
We had our preliminary field check meeting, and Rob Wetnight from the town was there, and he basically brought to our attention that they had been in that sewer about 10 years previously and had noted then that there were a lot of rusted out sections in the bottom of the storm sewer. So we were able to work with the City of Indianapolis DPW. They were able to run a camera through the storm sewer. They got all but about 25 feet of a segment there in front of the Firestone. They just couldn't get the camera to get through that 25 feet. But from looking at the rest of it, it's pretty heavily sedimented, so you can't really see a lot of the bottom. But I think it's pretty safe to say that there's evidence that there's a significant amount of rust in the bottom third of the circumference of the storm sewer that will need to be addressed before we build a sidewalk over the top of it.
Right. As far as your understanding, Crawfordsville Road, whose road is that?
It is a thoroughfare road, and therefore, in Marion County, those are the maintained and, I guess, owned by City of Indianapolis DPW.
Okay. And does that include the stormwater?
That is open to interpretation.
Okay, I
claim
just
the
want to
road.
clarify that.
They claim the road, but they say that because the storm sewer basically drains strictly town of Speedway, that it's the town's storm sewer. But that's their interpretation.
Of course it is.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, that's all the questions that I have.
And again, you mentioned the reason why the work was completed before the approval.
Is because we immediately needed to apply for additional funding from the MPO. There was a time frame for that to be able to get 10% of additional funding through the MPO, but that application had to be made last summer. And there was a few questions about that, so.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our consultant agreement amendment number 2 with GAI Consultants for the Crawfordsville Road Pedestrian Improvement Project, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 4-0. Our next item is approval of the engagement letter with Ice Miller to act as bond counsel for the 2024 general obligation bond issue. Philip?
Thank you. This engagement letter is in a not to exceed $25,000 amount for them to handle the legal side of the bond work that we anticipate completing by the end of this year. The current thinking behind this is that this would fund the 25th Street, or part of the 25th Street reconstruction project, as well as part of the Crawfordsville pedestrian improvement project as well. So I do recommend it for your approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement letter with Ice Miller LLP to act as bond counsel for the 2024 general obligation bond issue.
I'll second.
All right, any questions or comments?
No, I just want to say, I mean, Lisa Lee has been around for a long time and has given good bond counsel in relationship to the past. So is Ice Miller in terms of their representation. So I feel comfortable with working with them on this project.
All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our engagement letter with Ice Miller to act as bond counsel for the 2024 general obligation bond issue, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Next item is approval of claims and utility adjustments. Philip?
Thank you. I do have both for you this evening for the period of September 5th through September 18th. The claims are on 11 pages and total $1,398,828.60. And the adjustments are on one page, but they are two different adjustments for two different customers. I would ask for your approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve the claims and utility adjustments as presented by our clerk treasurer.
I'll second that.
All right, any questions, comments regarding the claims and utility adjustments? All right, all those in favor of approving our claims and utility adjustments, say aye.
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 Those opposed? That passes 4-0. All right. Final report from council members. We'll start with Sean Harold.
Just a call out about the hometown parade this week. I'm sure everybody's excited about that. So you may have seen some of our members of the planning committee on Fox 59 this morning, which is great to get some publicity there. And I believe the parade starts at 5:30, if I'm remembering correctly. So come on out if you're not one of the members participating. Come on out and support the community, and hopefully we'll see you there on Friday night. 5:30. Have the time.
That's 5.
Is it 5?
Oh, 5.
5 p.m.
Oh, 5 p.m. Sorry, 5 p.m. Not 5:30. So yeah.
Depends on where you're set.
I know, right? Yes, if you're right there in front.
But again, we're taking off from right behind the Legion there, basically, and then up 21st Street, I think it is, and then make our turn onto Winton, and then all the way up to the school from that.
Yep, and stick around for the homecoming game Friday night.
There we go. That'll put us a little early. Maybe we can tailgate before the
I
game
gotta
at
flip
that
some
point,
burgers.
Yeah. Okay.
But
All
nothing
right.
else for me tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Harold. Councilor Vince Noblet.
No, I just want to say we had an officer get hurt in the performance of his duty, and Officer Eisen, and I think our heart goes out when any of our public safety gets hurt in the performance of their duty, especially when he was basically stopping a stolen vehicle, is the way I read it. And but our prayers are with him on that, and I hope for a speedy recovery. At this point in time, it's always bad to hear. Also, I just want to say about the race that we had over the weekend. It was, I think, for it to be televised, having the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this was more of an international race, and they had international commentators on this. And I think it's neat that there's a facility in our town, and it says something about our town that we, should, keep investing in that, because, we do great things. And, a lot of people look towards the town of Speedway on the west side of Indianapolis as an anchor. And we got to keep on doing what we do, and that's in making our community the best community that to live in Indianapolis. And I think it was shown just by the races that they put on. And we got another one coming up in October. So then Roger gives us a break for a while. So and then we'll kick off next year and start all over again. So appreciate hospitality to all those who attended. It was a really hot day out there, 94 degrees. People were tenting it. I can't believe it. They're sleeping outside, but they did it. And I know a lot of people were down on Main Street on Thursday night. It was good to see that. So I didn't check to see if the Dora project was working well, but I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Vince. Vice President Sturgeon.
Yeah, I have really nothing other than go spark plugs this Friday night. Hopefully we get a W.
Yep. And then for me, I just had wanted to pass along to Sarah, Counselor Sarah Gardner. Hope she's feeling better soon, and hope Grant enjoys his time at his conference, and we'll see him at our next meeting. And with that, our 16th meeting of 2024 is adjourned at 7:39.